We live in an age of endless acceleration. The world keeps whispering, you have to do more, be faster, shine brighter, achieve better. Every social media feed is a display of other people's happiness. Curated, polished, amplified, and the longer you look, the stronger the quiet anxiety grows inside. Where am I in all of this? Why doesn't my life look like that? Why doesn't my happiness feel so radiant, effortless, aesthetic? Why does my joy seem so ordinary, uneven, quiet? Why, despite everything I have, do I still feel like something's missing? And that's where the chase begins. We start believing that happiness is a peak, a point to reach, a reward waiting at the top of a long climb. We imagine it somewhere in the future, right after the next success, the next relationship, the next change. We live as if we're running toward that invisible finish line called someday, where everything will finally make sense. But the truth is, that day never comes. Every time we get close, it moves further ahead, turning into a new goal, a new horizon, another someday. What is it that makes it so hard for us to stop running? Why do we push ourselves even when exhaustion weighs down our bodies, when our hearts whisper enough? Maybe it's because chasing gives us a false sense of direction. As long as we're striving, we feel alive. But that's not living. That's performing life. We've mistaken effort for existence. We think that to stop is to fail, that to rest is to lose. Yet life doesn't wait for us to catch up. It's happening right now, even in stillness, even in silence. We were raised in a culture that turned happiness into a product. It's measured in likes, achievements, milestones, aesthetic moments. We've forgotten that joy isn't something to compare or collect, it's something to notice. It doesn't reside in events but in experience, in the texture of the present. Happiness is hidden in the ordinary, in the warmth of sunlight on your face, in the rhythm of your own breathing, in the quiet hum of the world when you stop trying to fix it. But to feel that, you have to stop chasing. You have to allow yourself to exist outside of the tempo, to be imperfect, unhurried, unremarkable. The world will call that laziness. But in truth, it's wisdom. Because the one who can slow down is the one who has learned to trust life. To know that everything arrives in its own time. That even stillness has purpose. That not every meaning needs to be built, some simply unfold in peace. We tie joy to results. I'll be happy when, the most dangerous phrase in modern life. When I get that job. When I lose the weight. When I find love. When I'm debt-free. And every time one when is reached, another appears. This is how life becomes an endless delay of happiness. We live in expectation, not experience. But no one promised us tomorrow. All we ever have is this moment. And if we can't learn to be happy here, we'll never be happy anywhere. Because the horizon always moves. To live without the chase for happiness means to allow yourself to be human, not a project, not a performance. It means allowing yourself to be imperfect, uncertain, sometimes lost, sometimes tired. Happiness isn't the absence of pain, it's the capacity to stay open even in the midst of it. To stop running from life and instead to meet it, whole, raw, unfiltered. Joy doesn't demand perfection. It appears in the cracks of ordinary days, in the quiet after the noise, in the moments that ask for nothing in return. The day I began to notice these moments, life stopped feeling like a checklist. I realized that happiness isn't a loud explosion of emotion, it's a soft acceptance of what is. It lives in the ability to stop asking why and simply say yes. We lose so much peace trying to make life perfect. But life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It's beautiful precisely because it moves, shifts, breathes. Because it's fragile. Because it doesn't last. Maybe we should stop asking, am I happy? And start asking, am I alive? Because happiness isn't a separate category, it's a byproduct of aliveness. When you stop comparing, analyzing, and chasing, when you just breathe, listen, and notice, joy comes back on its own. You don't have to chase it. It comes when you stop resisting yourself. We live in a world overflowing with how to be happy guides, but maybe the real question is, how to stop standing in your own way. Happiness doesn't need to be found. It needs to be allowed. We push it away every time we try to be someone else, every time we postpone rest, every time we measure ourselves against others. Joy appears when life becomes simple again, when you stop performing and start being. It shows up where there's honesty. When we stop chasing happiness, life doesn't turn dull, it turns real. We stop being observers of our own existence and start participating in it again. And that return, that reconnection, is the most precious thing there is. Because that's where freedom lives. Freedom to be yourself. Freedom to move at your own rhythm. Freedom to stop explaining, to stop proving, to stop rushing. A life without the chase for happiness is a life that makes room for everything. Laughter and tears, inspiration and fatigue, clarity and confusion. It's not a painless life, it's a life without resistance. We stop fighting the current and begin to flow with it. And then we realize, the current knows the way. Not because we planned it, but because we finally stopped interfering. At that point, happiness ceases to be a goal. It becomes a natural state. The same simple, spontaneous joy we once knew as children, before we learn to measure and compare. We stop searching for it out there and start finding it in here. In calmness, in trust, in breath, in being. Because living without the chase isn't about giving up on dreams. It's about coming home to yourself. And once you're home, happiness no longer needs to be found. It's already here.